You're listening to Jump on the Bat-Wagon, hosted by the Watchtower Database. Visit WDB on YouTube for video essays, timelines, fan theories, and much more from the DC animated universe. And now, please enjoy the show. What do you want to say to start this episode, Brian, that's so good if you have ideas?
You can let me adjust the microphone first.
I don't do that. That's not how we roll.
That's how I roll.
That's not what we do here. And it never has been.
Okay, you want to start it off good?
Yes.
Here, check this out.
I want people to listen to this. What? You got it? Go.
Yes.
Yes.
Cartoons.
Yeah. Batman.
Don't cut me off.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Cartoons.
Yeah.
Are
Batman.
generally
sorry.
Cartoons.
Yeah.
Are generally accepted to be for children.
Okay.
However, the people who create the cartoons, generally speaking,
are not children. That's crazy.
Childlike sense of wonder.
How do they
do
it?
But I'm getting heady on this.
Yeah, please do.
Because today we have Stan Berkowitz coming on.
Don't say this.
Why?
I don't know. It's a spoiler.
Isn't it in the
In
title?
the title. Who's that you're saying? Who is this?
He's Stan.
Oh, yeah.
Stan the man. Writer.
I wanted you to describe
Producer?
him to me. Yeah. Producer?
Producer.
I heard fra.
Fra.
Let's rewind. Producer? See? You said producer. It's so weird. Why would you say that?
When we had the good luck, good graces, I don't know, of hanging out
with
Stan Berkowitz and Dan Reba in Portland. It was funny because Stan was already kind of like...
By the way, I don't think we ever explained how we were at a Comic-Con together recently. Like, there was an episode of the podcast where we said, "Oh, have you recovered from the weekend?" And that was like the entire conversation. I don't think we said this at all. Yeah, we were all us Watchtower peeps were at Fan Expo Portland in January. Going back in time and see us there.
Yeah.
And yeah, Stan Berkowitz, Dan Reba were there. And we asked them ahead of time, like, you want to go to like dinner or something? And I was like, and they're like, "Oh, we're so busy." And, okay, maybe it won't work out. And then we got there and reminded them of that. And they're like, "I think we can, I don't know, maybe." And then they're like, "Well, meet us at, the hotel that we're staying at, and we'll talk about it." And then we just sat there, had a drink with them, and they're like, "Okay, where do you want to go?" And we're like, "Oh, fuck yeah." And that was, I think I did mention Dan Reba when you said, like ramen. You just, oh shit.
Yeah. But along the walk, it was, we kind of got into a little bit of the conversation about, or was it before? I'm sorry, I'm messing with the timeline a little bit, but it was like Stan was kind of like, jabbing at us a little bit for taking like cartoons for kids a little too seriously.
Maybe, yeah. Well, he was saying you were explaining this podcast to him, and then he was like, "Why are we not doing this with the child or whatever?"
Oh, right, yeah. He said I was the child. That's what it was. But something that I really grew to appreciate was that Stan seems to put a lot more thought into things.
Yeah.
And a little bit more weight. And so I'm like, okay, I'm like ready to like know this about the dude.
Yeah.
Watch an episode and then talk about it with him.
And he was very adamant about like Shriek. I want to be on for Shriek. Like he just said it like very quickly. And then he immediately, like, even though he'd already said, like, "Oh, Brian hasn't seen any of this stuff," he just turned to you and was like, "There's a moment in the episode." And you just went, no. He's like, no. I think what he said was that you're going to think that your TV is broken.
Yeah.
And it's not, or something.
Why do I remember that?
Because he said it to you, and he's famous and cool, unlike us here at Jump on the Bat-Wagon episode 160.
No reaction.
Yeah. I'm James from the Watchtower Database YouTube channel, whatever that is. And I'm here to show my good buddy Brian, who's also famous, the entire DC animated universe from start to finish for the very first time in the controversial Airdate order, so that he, a child, may view these shows the way human beings experienced them in the far gone days of the 1900s.
When children were made.
When children were born. Today, we're watching the...
You know what? Hey, to me, that's true. Kids were made in the 1990s and 80s.
Yeah. Kids were made in the 1900s.
Yeah. And then that's kind of like, that's when kids were. Yeah. And now there's just this weird stuff.
How are they still kids? Didn't they grow up and they figure it out? Yeah, Batman Beyond episode Shriek. Your prediction last time, after a little bit of coaxing from myself, was a sound man doing sound things. But I think you also said sound man... it was something else, and it was only yesterday that you said this, and I've already forgotten. So
you mean 3 weeks ago?
I mean, a week ago.
A week ago. No, 3 weeks from now.
You have your phone at the time of this recording.
Oh,
you can finally say it.
10:14 a.m.
Hell yeah.
Batman. Which is actually 11:14 a.m.
Oh my
Screw
God.
Daylight savings.
Daylight savings sucks. Batman Beyond is streaming on Max.
My dog.
In the living room somewhere, and available on DVD and Blu-ray in the living room somewhere. And if you'd like to follow along, you can head over to Bitly, who I still haven't seen this weekend, /watch DCAU. Links in the show notes. I probably won't see him this weekend. It's okay.
Maybe.
This first aired Saturday, March 13th. Not too long from now, 1999.
Almost my birthday.
A while ago. 9:30 a.m. on Kids WB. 23 days after our last episode, Heroes. There was a little bit of a gap for some reason of new episodes anyway. This aired number 7 and produced number 10. Those are different numbers, and we hate that. Running gag. It's written by Stan Berkowitz and directed by Kurt Gaeta. Music is by Christopher Carter, and animation is Coco/Dong Yang.
I'm giving thumbs up to like all of this. Yeah. Over like my pal Superman.
Superman's pal. Yeah.
Or
my pal Superman. My friend, my buddy.
It's
Superman.
The other side. Yeah. It's the other side where Jimmy Olsen is saving Superman's life.
Yeah, he actually is doing stuff, and Superman just annoyed the whole time. Yeah. Well, buy us a coffee. The last thing we do in the intro here. Head over to the link in the description to send us a Yoppie beverage and support the show. We'll give you a shout out in an upcoming episode. I forgot to read, and we'll plug your shit. We'll also do a push-up for every plug your shit. We'll also do a push-up for every $1. So send us coffee for our health and your entertainment. Today's Yoppie Bevs come to us from... what's uh-oh?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Who's it from?
It's from Dylan Pollock.
Oh!
It says, plug me hard. But hey, Yoppie Bev. Yeah, go listen to the Movies to Watch Before You Die podcast with Dylan and Gab. It's fun. Brian did the logo, etc.
I think it's a pretty fun, like...
Personally, I like it. But if it's not for you...
No, it's a good podcast because you have an actor and who's
Dylan.
And you have... and then you have Dylan, who's one who's
involved
just
with
such,
sound engineering.
Yeah, but he's just,
like
I think, an appreciator of like media.
Yes.
You know, somebody picks a movie... for the things the others should watch before they die. Like, you know, we're putting this on a list.
It's a little bit morbid since they're related. They're like, hey, I know you're going to die soon. Person related to me. So you should probably watch this movie.
I guess in the scheme of the universe. Yeah. Like basically
blink of an eye. The podcast will be over before you can even finish thinking of the word podcast. Wow, it's gone.
Whoops. Anyway, it's just, listener, if you don't know about it, like you need to just give it a bash. Go on there, find a movie that like maybe you've seen and you feel passionate about, and listen to Gab and Dylan go off. It is very entertaining.
Have they reviewed Passion of the Christ yet? Dylan? I don't know. I've never seen it, but it might be a good movie to watch before he dies. Okay, let's do 5 push-ups. Jesus Christ, you say? Is that
push-ups for Jesus.
Push-ups for Jesus. 1 Jesus. 1, 2 Jesus. 3 Jesus. 3, 4 Jesus. 5 Jesus. 5. That's not a lot of push-ups.
But it is a lot of Christ.
We did bike 15 miles yesterday, like we said in the last episode.
Yeah.
So my body is still a little bit body, but
mine is great.
Actually. It's okay.
I was doing squats this morning while trying to take artsy photos at sunrise. Where were you?
Sleeping.
Yeah.
Like a normal person.
Yeah.
Let us go Shriek. I mean, watch Shriek.
Okay.
You want to watch Shrek instead?
No.
Oh, okay, good.
Bruce. Who's there? Where are you?
There's something you must do.
Okay, we know it's some kind of sound generator. So now what? Computer, analyze the metal this thing's made of. Computer?
Incorrect command.
Do the thing where you figure out what it's made of.
Request for spectrographic analysis.
Yeah, that's it, what you said.
Analysis proceeding.
Copper, iron, and acoustium? Computer, acoustium. A new alloy that amplifies sound vibrations. Makes sense. Developed by Shreve Sound Laboratory, Gotham City. And the old man thought I couldn't do this stuff on my own.
Do you have electricity or the electric bikes by any chance?
We still use candles here. No, I mean, he doesn't own any. He had like 3 bikes. He had an extra bike for me to take. He really wanted me to take his cool, like, what's the like bike? French bike racing event? What am I thinking of?
Tour de France?
Yeah. He had like a cool souped up little dude bike, and I could not get the brakes right, so he gave me his coveted mountain bike that he wanted to ride instead, and I didn't crash.
Very
it.
generous.
Yeah. Normally, I ask Brian to tell me what happened in this episode. We play a little song, and then he describes the synopsis. But we always have the guest do it when we have a guest here. So I'm going to play the song, and then we're going to ask Stan Berkowitz to describe the episode that he wrote and tell us what happened in Shriek. Here's the song. That's not the right song. Here's the song right here.
Sing up, if you're wondering. Sing up, what you just watched. Sing up, take a listen to the synopsis. The short summary, which is sometimes kind of long.
We have user submitted songs, themes for most of these segments. So Stan, if you wouldn't mind, tell us what happened in Shriek, the plot of Shriek.
Well, we have a scientist who's able to manipulate sound. He can use it to break things, cause damage, and he can also subtract sound. Mm-hmm. He can take it away. He's working for a guy named Derek Powers, who's an industrialist who Bruce Wayne has made the mistake of partnering up with. The sound manipulator has a deal with Derek Powers. Powers is not impressed, doesn't think he's doing a very good job. So our scientist tries to prove that the sound vibration work is useful. And the way he tries to prove it is by driving Bruce Wayne insane, causing Bruce to hear sounds that he doesn't realize where they're coming from. Terry, his young friend, thinks that Bruce might finally be losing it mentally. Terry then has to prove that A, Bruce is sane, and B, we have to stop this sound manipulator who becomes known as Shriek.
Not Shrek, as his girlfriend said at the start.
I think Shrek came after it. And I think that the villain was named after the painting. The famous painting by the
Edvard
whose
Munch?
name I forgot. Munch, the Norwegian painter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is it called the Scream or the Shriek?
I think it's the Scream, but
Scream.
The big question is like, what is the original title?
Yeah, and
because
translation.
I think he was Norwegian. Actually, I know he was Norwegian. Yeah, I'm 85% sure he was Norwegian.
I'm 85 years
so
old.
Would it have been in English? But
yeah.
I think in English it's the Scream, but I don't know. I'd have to check.
Well, not to go too far afield, but there used to be an airline called Norwegian Airlines. and they would paint pictures on their tail of famous Norwegians. And also stuff that we know about Norway, meaning that on one of the airplanes, there is a picture of the screen.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, can you imagine if that thing got in a wreck?
Don't worry, everyone.
Tail sticking out of the Atlantic Ocean somewhere.
Sinking slowly.
For me, it's the person who's like trying to conquer a fear of flying who gets to the airport and that's the plane they get
fine,
on.
Honey. Yeah.
Yeah, they look over this and that's our plane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, how does Batman get him at the end? What's the our final encounter there?
The final encounter is that he causes, ironically, Shriek's suit to overload, and it causes deafness in Shriek, so he becomes stone deaf.
Yeah, well, and he had like tinnitus ringing sounds, and Brian went, my life every day, or whatever.
I have that too.
Yeah.
I've always had it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
personal.
I mean, you get used to it.
you do. I think for me, the thing though is like I sleep better if there's some kind of like in the summertime, if a fan's on, I'm like, oh, this is nice. Cause I think like a little bit of masking takes it away and makes it just a little, I don't know, you kind of forget about it a little bit more. But yeah, if you're like, oh, wow, the woods are so quiet today and you just sit and listen, it's just whee.
Well,
and you hear that, that hum.
Yeah.
I know. I've always had it since childhood. So
really?
Yeah, you get used to it.
Is that any influence on this episode?
Not really. I mean, because it is my reality. I'm just used to it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't know what silence is.
I
mean, I literally don't know.
You always have guys in your head going, Stan, open the window.
Yeah. Well, that was that thing that opened the window was a callback to an earlier Batman episode, much earlier Batman episode. He's in the dream. It's it's Mad Hatter.
Yeah, Perchance to Dream, where he's up on the clock tower or whatever. Yeah, the bell tower.
And he's dreaming, and he realizes, well, you can't die in your dream.
Yeah.
So he
jumps.
Considers jumping.
Yeah.
And I'm told that was a big issue with Fox.
Yeah,
the
they
censors,
couldn't show him technically doing it. Yeah.
You don't want to encourage children to jump.
Yeah, probably not.
It's a solid move. Yeah.
I mentioned this to you guys before. There was back in the 50s when the George Reeves Superman was running, there were always stories about kids, children, tying a little sheet around their neck as if it were a cape and jumping off the roof thinking they could fly.
Yeah.
There were stories about that. There was never an actual name attached to it, but there was this kid down the block who did it, or this.
Yeah, I've heard you tell that a couple of times. I always love you ending it with like the down the block was always just one block further every time or whatever. But it happened.
I think that says something about like human imagination. Like our concern, which is fair, like absolutely, that's an easy conclusion to jump to, no pun intended. But
do it, Brian. Right? Jump to the conclusion.
I think we all have that, like, that could happen. It doesn't necessarily mean it does happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like I had a lot of those growing up too. It was the like first thing my brain jumps to is the like sticking your tongue to a flagpole in the winter, which also is a thing. But
yeah, it works.
Is that the next episode? The bad guy has tongue powers and he...
I'm sorry, James?
We don't need to go any further than that. Let me read the official synopsis real quick. This is very brief. It's directly from the Warner Brothers website back in the day. Derek Powers unleashes a new villain, Shriek, onto Gotham when he wants to kill Bruce, but Batman stands in the way of Shriek succeeding. Now, you guys had no hand in writing these, did you? Did you submit these?
No.
I didn't think so. We've always been sitting here because I mean, this was a pretty okay one, but a lot of them are just like the Green Lantern Superman episode we watched a few weeks ago. It just starts off. The first sentence is origin story about Kyle Rayner. And it's like, oh, what a great synopsis. Like, thanks, Warner Brothers, whatever intern wrote this, or,
Obviously, they watched the show and were bored by it.
Yeah, whatever. Origin story, something, yeah.
I am so pleased to say about, because I've been very up and down with a lot of these episodes as we talked about over dinner, whenever that was. Was that January?
It was late January.
Yeah.
He just has to keep bringing it up.
Just got to keep
I
bringing
had
it up.
dinner with Stanberg.
It was a good dinner.
It was a good dinner.
Awesome, good soup.
It was. We really appreciated it.
Yes.
We appreciate you guys.
As he said, it was literally the least we could do.
Yes. But so many of these episodes, and I think like this is one of the things I was kind of complaining about is, you know, the episodes that don't catch me, or I find all these faults with it because I'm kind of a pessimistic guy. We just watched Heroes, which I did not favor.
This is the terrific trio, Fantastic Four episode.
Yeah. This episode, though, had me caught from the very beginning. And I think my girlfriend and Jamie here and myself all just kind of watched it in like silent reverence because it was just so... It was so imaginative and it was so creative and there just wasn't any like fat to trim. It was solid. I really like this episode.
He's just saying that because you're sitting. I'm just kidding. No,
I
did
liked
really
it too. I mean, I have the same feeling about any show that I've worked on where some episodes you really like, some kind of so-so, and others you kind of like, oh, I wish we hadn't done that. And for me, the reason I liked it so much in looking at it again all these years later was that there were two mentor relationships. Derek Powers mentoring of Shriek, and the other was Bruce Wayne mentoring of Terry. One mentorship goes really badly, really badly for everybody. And the other one moves forward.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been watching the shows in order.
Right.
I think that this one moved the relationship between Bruce and Terry another step or two forward.
Yeah.
You had the element of Terry thinking, oh my God, what is happening to Bruce, hearing voices and stuff, is a natural sign of aging. And now I'm going to have to deal with this.
I've been Batman for like 6 days, man. Like, come on. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you've ever had to deal with... Actually, I just had a phone call talking to a relative who is reaching that stage in life. She's not hearing voices or anything, but, she needs help.
Yeah.
She cannot get along by herself anymore. And that stuff, you never think it's going to happen until it does happen.
Oh, that's terrifying.
And so here's Terry thinking, oh my God, it's happening. And it's probably happening too soon. This is about the 6th or 7th episode.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's thinking, oh my God, Bruce is done. It's over for him. So there's that element. And then there's the element of Bruce proving, hey, I've still got it.
That I think was one of my favorite parts of it too, where there's kind of like that dichotomy of, oh no, Bruce is losing it. And you get that for half, 3/4 of the episode. And then by the end, Bruce is like, oh, well, I don't call myself Bruce in my head, and Terry's like, well, that's, Batman's my name now. And, it's kind of we'll see about, so there's a more like playful camaraderie, which I think shows that like Bruce is still like, he's still sharp and he's still got it. Like his body is aging, but there's still going to be a little bit of that. Like
his body's aging, but he's still Batman enough to throw the orderlies all over the room when he even try to.
And for future reference, there's an episode called "Where's Terry?"
Mm-hmm.
Wait, should I not
that
hear
also
this?
deals? No, that's it.
That's all
I just said.
He's
I
good.
just said if you like that,
Yeah.
see "Where's Terry?"
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get there.
And here's a question for you. No spoilers or anything, but do you think now that Shriek will be back?
Okay, I'm a bit jaded on this one.
Yeah.
I would assume so. And that was kind of my thought when the episode ended. And the reason that I just blatantly assume, like, I could convince myself one way or the other, but there tends to be, this bad
theme.
guy's like maybe been killed or he's been locked away. And then they always find a way to come back. And so just with the nature of it, I would expect him to come back again.
Okay. Derek Powers, you think he'll be back?
Definitely.
We've watched Meltdown already, which with Mr. Freeze, where he like fully becomes Blight in that episode. And then this whole time, we didn't even get a hint of his little crackly eyeballs or anything.
Oh my God, I completely spaced that. Oh, what is wrong with me?
Yeah, he didn't do any sort of
why?
Tiny blighting. I don't know.
I had this weird, it's funny because when this started, I was like, oh, we haven't seen Powers in a little bit.
Yeah.
And I completely forgot the Blight. How did I do that?
I don't know, man.
Oh my
He's
God.
like cramming 150 episodes into your brain. And
Okay, so that's right.
Well, it would have been too much.
Yeah.
To have put Blight in it would have been too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's fair. 22 minutes, and we're dealing with 4 people, 2 relationships, and a lot of physical action as well, and all those really cool sound effects that our sound editors did.
I want to talk about that.
So before you do,
I
wanted to mention Derek Powers is portrayed by an actor named Sherman Howard, Lex Luthor, on the Superboy show that I worked on.
Oh,
and he got the job without ever having to mention Superboy. It was completely separate. He just walked in and he was good, and he got that job as Derek Powers.
That's awesome.
We had him on the Main Man episode of Superman. He was the preserver, or as we've been calling him, Eggy Wrinkles. The floating egg boy that kept all the guys. And then when he came back for Derek Powers, that was one of the first pieces of trivia I shared with Brian. Was that he was Lex Luthor. Yeah. Yeah, no, but it's good. It's good for you to mention that because he doesn't stick with half the stuff.
There's just
he just
so
enjoys
much.
what's in front of him.
Yeah.
The whoop-de-doo line from Powers was improvised during the recordings.
Nice. Okay.
By Sherman.
At least I brought down one of the buildings. Yeah, whoop-de-doo. Yeah. That's good.
Which is cool because that also shows kind of his like breadth of experience, right? That he's just like, I don't care about like the buildings coming down. I like want this like acquisition or whatever.
Him not being Blight at all in this, there's still like, if you know undertones of that, I think, because like for one, when Bruce Wayne and him are having all the meetings, there's we as the audience know like that's a spooky skeleton man with like atomic nuclear powers, be careful. But also when he's having that meeting with Shriek, and Shriek's like, you spoiled everything. I'm going to kill you. And then he just kind of calmly sits there like, that's not going to do anything because we know he could just go, blah. But,
Again, I completely spaced on that. Retroactively, that makes a lot more sense. How did I forget?
It's okay.
Okay. Anyway.
Sound effects.
Sound, yes. So, Stan, do you know if, like, because that's a pretty ballsy move to take out the sound, like to stop sound for that one moment where Terry walks in with like the pizza, and he's like, oh, what's this thing? And he like cuts the sound completely. That's a bold move. And I'd be very surprised if anybody had done that before.
That's the whole point of doing that shit. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
To do something you haven't seen before.
Yeah.
To shock or surprise people. And it was written that way because I know how to draw, but I'm not an artist at all. Mm-hmm. But because I know how to draw and I see what the real artists and the real animators can do, I'm very impressed by them. And there was nothing I could think of visually to challenge them. So let's do sound.
Yeah.
And I think you'll see you have many good surprises to come in future episodes regarding surprising people, challenging people, forcing them to do stuff that they're not used to doing, and seeing how they're able to meet the challenge and even exceed it, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and this is something that, like, again, watching the episode Heroes recently, it was, like, where you talk about the balance of this one, where you say like, oh, we had so much to fit in. We had this like 2 pairs of mentorship. We had like the physical stuff. We had these like internal struggles and battles and all this. But again, this was so well balanced. With Heroes, it was like, okay, we got the Fantastic Four missing one person, and then it's this, and they're the Fantastic Three are over here, and now the army's here, and we got bald Hitler, and he's like trying to like make some army stuff happen, and now where'd he go? Now where'd everybody go? They got sucked up a vet, and it was just like this meandering storyline which failed to grab me at every point.
Excuse me. Was the writer of the episode on when you were talking like this?
So this is something we've had when we had Dan on before. It was that same kind of experience where he was like, well, don't hold back, because he had his own opinions about why. I think it was the Zatanna episode.
Yeah, it was his first directed episode. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it was like I was finding things to say about it that were good, but I also like don't want to be disingenuous, and I want to say things that, don't land for me. And like, hearing from some of the fans, like on a Discord board about the podcast, people had some nice things to say about Heroes, but it's also like, our personal journeys. And that one just didn't hit for me. This one, however, again, it was just like, it was so creative. It was so like the writing was great. The storytelling was great. And also then you had the like visual and auditory elements where it was like, yeah, you cut out the sound, which is such a bold move. And I don't think people understand how bold that is on TV because suddenly you're focused. Like you're focused on the animation.
Yeah, your set's broken. Your TV's broken.
Yeah. Right. And then later.
And remember, it's more than 25 years ago, isn't it?
26.
Yeah.
Almost to the day 26.
Yeah. So he really thought he was broken.
He was like, when did the Bose noise canceling headphones first come out? Because he was like, did Stan invent? I know we figured that out, but he was like, did Stan invent noise canceling technology?
Because like I'm like a little bit like
no. I mean that exists. That exists. It was used in some automobiles.
Yeah.
And it's used in areas where there's like really loud noise, a work environment, like at the docks or something.
Yeah.
You can't make everything go silent, but it does lower the noise.
Yeah. I loved Shreve's explanation because it was like, we have a button on the soundboard that it's a chorus that says, that's not how that works.
That's not how that works.
There you go.
So because I'm kind of a jerk and I have like just enough engineering and like electrical and all this know-how, I see things and I just go, that's not how that works. But it was so nice to hear Shreve be like, oh, it essentially like inverts the sound waves because then that cancels out the sound. I'm like, that's exactly that. That is exactly how that works. And I was just thrilled.
Yeah.
And then it was cool later on in the episode where Keen, I should say, like canceled out, like tuned all the sounds except for his
Batman's feet.
Yeah, for Batman's like footfalls. And it was so cool then to have a silent world except for the footfalls. So you have him like falling over but making no sound. And then he jumps a thing and makes a very loud sound when he hits. And it's just like, I don't know. This was a very good episode for me. I'm excited.
You couldn't have gone too long with dead silence.
That's what I was just going to ask. Yeah.
But I thought that the sound editors made a wise choice by doing the footfalls so that people knew, hey, this is really disorienting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a little disorientation's fun. I mean, you remember the end of the final Sopranos episode?
Never saw it.
Another spoiler.
Never saw it.
I'm aware of it.
By all means, go for it.
The final Soprano episode just ends in the middle of a scene. It just stops. And people are going to their TVs and going, well, what happened here? Mm-hmm. It just goes to black. You think, oh, my TV broke. And then the credits come on and then you're going, wait a minute, this is really a rotten thing to do. but it forced you out of the show and it startled you.
Yeah.
And I wanted that startle effect while you were watching the show. And then it dawns on you, well, wait a minute. When you're in a fight scene, you need the noise.
Yeah.
You need that noise to orient yourself. Because if you don't have it, something's going to come roaring at you from behind that you don't hear, and you're going to get damaged by it. Mm-hmm. I have to say that cutting out the sound is not entirely original. There is a movie called The Big Combo, and it's not a musical combo. It's a combination. It's from the 1950s film noir. Hmm. And Brian Donlevy is a gangster, an over-the-hill gangster who requires a hearing aid and is just stone deaf without the hearing aid. One of his lackeys decides to kill him, and they yank out the earpiece from Donlevy. Then you see the machine gun firing at him, but there's no sound.
Wow. Okay.
That's bold too.
Yeah, it was fairly bold, but when we did it, you really did think that something had happened to your TV.
Yeah, well,
right.
I mean, I felt like it was obviously intended to put you on the edge of your seat because it makes you go like, huh? You're listening for everything. I had that thought because way back at the top of Batman the Animated Series that we were talking about a bit from Bruce Timm about how some of the shots were way too dark. And so the network was calling like, you have to brighten this up. Like nobody's TV can see this kind of a thing. And I had that same thought with this of like when the little demonstration happens earlier with the sound turning off for maybe like 3 or 4 seconds, that's one thing. But then to do that whole fight, like I felt myself going, I wish that it had held on absolute silence for just a little bit longer. But then I thought about all the different like network executives going like, everyone's going to think this stupid thing is happening and you got to bring in footsteps and then bring in music and all this stuff. And like, it still worked really well. It was still very effective, but I had that maybe just 2 more shots of nothingness before.
I think I ride the line there.
Yeah.
As I mentioned in my book, the network executive was the same person who ran the studio.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Okay. You're right.
Pete McCurdy. So very few problems like that.
That's good.
Very few.
I love that. And I think like making the general public question what's going on is a brilliant move. I like David Lynch stuff. And I think he does that same, probably not auditorially, but you're watching the movie and then suddenly you go, huh? Like what, why, what's happening here? Yep. And it was really cool then to reintroduce later where it went silent. He tuned into the footsteps and then it was just it was no music. It was just footsteps for probably 10 to 15 seconds. And then like some like strange, like strings, kind of like a pad sound came in and that kind of held on it. And it was just it created a really interesting ambience.
With Lynch, the confusion is narrative writing.
Yeah.
With us, I don't think there was any kind of confusion in any of the episodes about story elements or ambiguity about what did I just see? I don't get it. I mean, we're fairly clear. I think all the episodes are really clear about what we're trying to say.
Well, since we brought up David Lynch, this is a good segue into the cast of this episode.
Okay.
David Lynch is not in the cast of this episode, but we have some returning folks, of course, up top.
He did act, though. He did.
Yes.
He did play John Ford in the Spielberg movie.
Yeah.
The Fableman.
Yeah.
I mean, he's also in Twin Peaks.
Yeah, of course. We've got Will Friedle as Terry McGinnis / Batman, Kevin Conroy as Bruce Wayne, Sherman Howard as Derek Powers, as you mentioned. Our first new one, we've got Chris Mulkey as Walter Shreve / Shriek. He played John. He was in. So when I look up these people, typically they're usually other animation or anime or whatever voice actors. But this guy, most of his stuff was from like films. Like he was in Captain Phillips. He was in Whiplash. All these kind of things. And he played Hank Jennings in 13 episodes of Twin Peaks. Don't know if you know this.
Wait, which one is Hank Jennings? Is the cop, the police officer dude?
See, cowboy hat? I don't know. Sometimes when I say the Twin Peaks one,
can you look up a
him
picture? It's been the better part of a decade since I've watched Twin Peaks.
It's this guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh my God. Okay.
See, this is what I do every time as I go, it's this guy in Twin Peaks. I haven't seen Twin Peaks. And he goes, oh yeah, that guy.
Twin Peaks is great.
We have Ian Patrick Williams as Andrews. Who is Andrews in this? Was it one of the board members maybe or something?
Board member and orderly? I don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe. He was previously Ivan in The Forgotten and Giuseppe Bianchi in Cold Comfort, whose painting got ruined by Mr. Freeze.
Oh, that was so cruel.
Laurie Johnson as Nurse. She was previously Nurse in The Terrible Trio. Additional voices in Fear of Victory, Mom in Love is a Crock, and Knife Thrower's Wife in Animal Act. And last we have Greg Berger as Computer in the Batcave. Do you want this thing? Do you mean this? Alexa, get me the stats on the thing. I don't know what you mean.
You got Alexa in here.
Oh, we do. Whoops.
She's plugged in right now.
In terms of character with that computer, we also had Terry trying to do what Bruce
Batman
could
stuff,
do so easily.
Yeah.
So we had that element of, the young person over his head. And then when he becomes the pizza guy, that's the kind of thing Bruce Wayne used to do, where he'd go undercover, not as Batman, but as another character.
What was his lackey's name?
What? Who?
When Bruce dressed up as like a thug, he had a name.
Oh,
Matches Malone.
Yeah,
Matches Malone. That's great.
You mean when he put a match in his mouth? Yeah.
In the very, very old Batman serial from 1943, there is maybe about 15 minutes worth of Bruce Wayne doing that. And that goes back a long, long way.
That's awesome.
Even before my time.
Wow. Greg Berger was previously Vinny the Shark in A Bullet for Bullock, manager of Round the Clock Pizza in Late Mr. Kent, and Agent Number 2 in Where There's Smoke. Oh, and also Golem Controller in Golem.
Oh, okay.
Of course,
pretty
famous
recently.
character. Yeah. I've got some trivia about this episode, and some of this I think that you could probably chime in on as true or false as we go through it, because I tend to pull these from IMDb, and sometimes I go look at them and I don't know about that. So The car that Terry is driving, which is like Bruce's limousine, is the Batmobile from Batman the Animated Series turned upside down.
What?
The design of the limo is the BTAS Batmobile. Yeah. It's not like one for one, but it's got the same grill. It's got the same highlights and the black and everything.
Oh, okay.
And it's just flipped. Yeah.
Well, the artists do try to reuse designs but I will not go so far as to confirm.
I've just always found that to be pretty funny. Derek Powers plans to demolish Crime Alley in order to make way for a new industrial complex where previously developed by businessman Roland Daggett in the BTAS episode Appointment in Crime Alley. It's just a little continuity callback. In the DVD commentary, Bruce Timm says BS&P wouldn't allow them to have Shriek explicitly tell Bruce to jump out of the window of the hospital. Makes sense.
Right.
Derek Powers tells Shriek it's better to be feared than loved, citing the book The Prince by Italian political philosopher Machiavelli. Is famous for his argument that a ruler should do anything to hold on to power regardless of moral questions, an attitude Powers shares. So was that something you purposely pulled, or is that just a quote that lives in your mind?
I mean, I knew it.
Yeah.
It was Machiavelli.
Yeah.
It's even relevant today.
Yes. A bit.
Oh God, it really is.
Not here, not even not anybody we know. But.
It's Brian. Of anybody.
Oh God.
You know that the devil is sometimes called Old Nick, not Saint Nick, but Old Nick, and he got that name from Machiavelli because Machiavelli was considered evil for saying stuff that cynical at worst, but
the
also
devil.
The devil.
Wow.
Machiavelli's first name, Nick, became synonymous with the devil.
Wow.
Because he was, dare I say, unsparingly honest.
Yeah. Fell from heaven.
That really changes my perspective on there's a bar in town here called Old Nick's. And now I feel like
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Old Nick. Look it up.
Wow.
Don't go in there ever again.
No.
Last I've got is that the design for Shriek was like the character design was made first. It was like Glenn Murakami and Bruce Timm in a room let's soup up a bunch of cool designs for Batman Beyond villains, but they didn't know what this guy was going to do or anything about him or what he was called or whatever. And then Alan Burnett had pitched an episode idea, recalling an old Bruce Timm idea, brainstorming session years earlier. I mentioned to him that I wanted to do a show where the climax was silent, that we had a villain whose powers were controlling sound. Stan Berkowitz then came up with the villain Shriek, and the character was paired with the design. Do you have any more further insight on that, or is that all pretty accurate, you think?
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Pretty accurate. I didn't know the history going back because when Alan and Bruce were working on the original Batman animated series, I was over at Marvel, Stan Lee. So I don't know about that.
I always think it's fun.
From my point of view, I was just given the drawing that Glenn did. Yeah. Guy has something to do with sound, see what you can do.
Yeah. I mean, it's a perfect, like the big, cuppy hands for all the sound wave stuff is, well. I do like that he just like, and I have this sound suit that I made that looks like a supervillain. do you think I should put this on? Is it going to work?
I mean, I thought it was a little bit sloth looking, and I wouldn't call sloth supervillains, but
Yeah, it was always found his design very cool looking, little claws and everything. It is slothy.
Yeah,
I
super
never
slothy.
thought about it.
But I like that it's not, he's like slow moving or he slows, I don't know, himself. The sound, it was super inventive.
Mm-hmm. The next segment we do on the podcast is called Keen Effects, where we specifically talk about any visual or auditory thing. We've brought this up a little bit already. I'm going to play the little tiny sound. So any like special effects or audio effects that we liked a lot of course, the sound effects of all of the and then the visuals paired with it too. Of anytime there's like smoke, he blew that like ring through the smoke at one point with sound. And all of the just trails of sound waves leading up places was a very good visual to indicate where the sound waves are going. Otherwise, you just have nothing on screen.
Well, that was kind of cool with like when Bruce is in the old police station and it is just sort of like, this is a weird earthquake. And then you eventually get that more concentrated stuff. But I loved the sound design when you had those sound waves on the ground. It was kind of like high pitched, but like it had a bit of a warble to it. It was weird.
Yeah.
Very inventive.
This isn't an effect at all, but I just remembered, so I'll mention it, is when at the end you're like, oh, the dog saved him. They were so happy about that. Brian's got a bunch of big dogs and has in the past too. And so anytime that I knew he would really like this show for various reasons, but I figured like, oh, he's going to like Ace. He's going to cling on to Ace.
Nothing better happened to that dog or I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, Stan, any keen effects that you noticed in this episode besides what we've already talked about?
No, not beyond that. I mean, I'm as the writer, you're not really responsible for sound effects.
Yeah, they don't have to come from you, but yeah, you just watched it. I did like the purple audience at the end that separated themselves from Derek Powers up on stage. They're just very like one tone.
Well, here's the question. As the writer then, would you say there's any keen writing things that you want to bring into it? Anything we haven't touched on?
No, I just like the relationships in both the two different relationships and getting to know each other better and working together more and respecting each other more. Because Terry does his thing. I mean, he's completely successful in this. And you see him in other episodes screwing up occasionally, needing Bruce's help, but it works. Terry's becoming more and more Batman, an independent Batman.
Yeah.
But Bruce still has it, and they come to respect each other more, I think.
Yeah.
One of the problems, certainly in Batman and Robin, it's just hard to write for Robin because he's kind of a carbon copy of Batman, same tragedy. That always struck me, and going back to the comics as being kind of lame.
Well, in this Batman, I mean, they bring it up. Do you want to forget what happened to your father and that kind of stuff? Yeah,
that's exactly what I was going to say. We kind of brought it up just for that moment, and then it went forward. So you reminds the audience that Terry had that kind of trauma as well.
And then Bruce goes up and rips a giant plank of wood off the door, all just one-handed. I'm sure it's been there for 50 years. But yeah.
Well, so my question about the relationships then is that, was this something that you wanted like to grow? Did you start off with this episode to say, okay, by the end of this, I want them to have taken a step as a duo? Or was that just kind
Absolutely.
Okay.
You don't want to, I mean, the ultimate end of that kind of relationship is the old guy dies and the young guy takes over. But I wanted to take one step toward that, where you see Terry becoming more competent. I mean, he's still feeling his way along, as the scene with the computer illustrates, but he becomes a little more competent, and Bruce begins to trust him a little bit more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just inching beyond that, inching toward the end.
I do love the way that the computer spits out the second receipt before he's even done talking. It's like, I know what you're about to ask me. I got it. I do really like that scene though, when he goes to the like solitary confinement kind of room and to break him out. And previous episodes we've seen Terry and Bruce kind of having more of a, Terry's not unquestioning of Bruce, but he's just like, yeah, this guy's Batman, like, whatever, I guess I'll do what he says. And then in this, he has, check the light fixture. You can't be serious. Like, there's nothing in here. And then, no, rip the walls off, all this stuff. And he's doing a lot more of like being his own Batman. Yeah.
And Terry's worried that Bruce has finally lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a tech guy, it was kind of interesting too. The microchip and sound producer hidden under Bruce's bandage is not too far off from this. I can't remember the name of the device, but it was essentially like a speaker magnet that you could mount to a wall or a table, and just that reverberation from the way that it mounted would turn any like element into a speaker.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was really cool back in like 2008 or 10 when I saw it. But it's when Terry pulled back the bandage on Bruce's head, I was like, that is, yes, you could hold because you could hold this speaker thing against your skull and you would hear, like, it would reverberate your skull, which probably isn't great, but you would hear the sound in your head.
Well, that was fun though, because the first scene where he's hearing all the voices, and then your girlfriend was just like, wouldn't the hospital people just be freaking out that there's all these like loud voices coming from everywhere? But then when it's very immediately like, oh no, only he can hear those.
Yeah.
Like they're somewhere on him. Yeah. This is sort of a good transition since we're talking about sound, but we've been talking about sound into the next segment we do. which is called Jordan Blumen's Musical Minutes. This is our buddy Jordan, who he's from the start been writing in these really great, and I'm setting him up for failure, but really great like insights into the music of every episode. So we just recently just went ahead and gave him a segment of the podcast. So here's our little intro that I play for him.
Hey, music.
And we finally heard that line also.
From this episode. I'm so happy.
I've been playing that for 6 other Batman Beyond episodes, and he finally, hey, music this time. So here's Jordan's message.
Now over to the musical moment. I absolutely adore the piano music going on when Bruce and Terry are talking about the nature of the past and painful memories. It's perfect because it sounds sad, but also very peaceful, and that just feels very appropriate for the sad memories. They can't hurt you now, but they kind of always hurt. But there's that sort of tranquility and moving past them. I don't know. It was a really good piece of music. It really spoke to me. Absolutely haunting strings and synth going on when the voices are trying to get Bruce to kill himself. I thought that was fun. Felt like something out of a horror movie. And obviously, fantastic sound design. Not quite music related, but when everything cuts out during the fight scene and we hear only their footsteps, and then we do get these big dramatic chords in the music, but no other sound, and then suddenly we just hear everything, and it deafens Shriek. I thought that was great. Also, not music related, but calling someone slimy is not slander. Get your head out of your ass, Powers. Never apologize for loving your fandom, and try to stay optimistic.
I did love that line of the what about assault? And then he jumps on.
Yeah, that was so good.
Yeah. Good job, Stan.
And also, just Jordan like nails it every time. Like you're like setting up for failure. No, he's always
he's got it.
He's on it.
Yeah, the all the sound coming back in to deafen him. It was funny because you said, like, as it was happening, you're like, this episode is great or something. And as it all is coming back, and then it cut immediately to a baby crying in a crib. And I thought you were, never mind. He's very anti-baby.
No, I get it. It proved the point. And it was, and also it was so cool to have that, I think just before then, where it was like you had the footfall sound and kind of nothing else, and the music comes in. That I love that the music was, I guess you would say, is that no, not diegetic necessarily.
Non-diegetic.
But it was, sure. It existed in that moment, and then it cut away to a different scene. And of course the music was gone. Like it was nothing to hold it together. Sure. So then you came back in and all that music was there again. You just it was this like binary flip between the two. It's just the production. Everything in this episode was so good.
We liked it, Stan. We liked this episode.
I wanted to offer my services a couple more times.
Yes.
James will know about these. I'd be happy to talk with the two of you about an episode called Babel, Babel, and another one called Where's Terry? And finally, one called April Moon.
Yes. Okay. Title split. No, just kidding. No, he doesn't know any of this shit. He won't remember.
The titles can't be. The titles certainly aren't spoiled,
and he won't remember them.
Although
anyway.
Babel, spelled Babbel, is that's a linguistic thing. I can't remember what it calls back to.
It's the Tower. It's the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
Babel.
Babel. Yeah. Tower of Babel.
But
that's the origin.
You already accidentally predicted the episode, so it's okay.
Either spelling refers to the same thing, Babel or Babbla. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Okay. But yes.
I agreed that we will definitely have you back on for at least 1 or 3 of those. Because those are very good episodes. I'm sure that they're worth having you back for. We have a couple final little segments we do here. This is a very silly one. It's called Where's Clayface? Clayface is obviously in every episode somewhere. Where was he in this episode?
He's the pillars that were holding up the police station.
Okay, yeah.
Obviously, he went in as a side gig to hold the building up, and then when the sound started coming through, he's like, "I quit. I'm out."
They hired him. Yeah, that's why Bruce said, "This is not like any earthquake I've seen. Clayface is here trying to hold up the building, and he was just falling over. It didn't work at all." We rate Batman's usefulness in the episode 1 through 10. We started us off by the concept of if Batman wasn't in the episode at all, and would anything have changed, basically. And of course, there's a little theme song that we play for it.
What did Batman do? Did he get a 10 or only a 2? I really gotta know. Tell me now, what is Batman's usefulness? Out now.
Whenever we have a new professional, especially on the podcast with us, and I have to just play these stupid little theme songs.
Don't apologize for that song. That song is incredible.
Yeah. So we rate it 1 through 10. We give him an object from the episode as the rating. I think if we're talking Batman as in Terry, because that's what we've decided for this show, I guess, then I will give him he did a lot of stuff on his own, as we've talked about. And I would say he may not have ever been fully. He says so. I had never crossed my mind that you were crazy or whatever. So I think he was on it pretty much the whole time. I'll give him an 8.
Kidding.
Yeah, he was kidding. Okay, yeah, he was smiling when he said that. It's true. I'll give him an 8. 8 pizza boxes, steaming pizza boxes with no logos on them out of 10.
Solid. I could see your 8, if not 8.5, because I think he's running at a deficit. He doesn't have the experience of Batman, so I'm really rooting for Terry. So I'm going to give him 8.5 screaming babies.
Okay,
out of 10. That's dire.
What about you, Stan? A rating and an object.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
We give him out of 10. How useful was Batman in this episode?
He stopped Shriek.
Yeah. We've reserved 10s for he saved the world. He stopped Ra's al Ghul from melting everything. He, whatever. So we can never really truly give him the 10 unless it's oh man, big deal or whatever.
Well, this wasn't a big deal. He just saved kind of a shitty part of Gotham City.
Very true.
We got Bruce Wayne out of a mental hospital.
Yeah.
So 8 or 9 for me.
Okay.
Love it.
And pick, you got to pick a thing. We're going to make you do it. We're going to pick a thing from the episode.
Well, the pizza. The pizza was an echo of kind of a trope from porn films.
Oh my God.
Oh, well, yeah. What does that say about Shriek? I guess he just invited that young man in.
Yeah, here's your pizza lady. We knew even when we were doing that, we knew there was kind of an echo of that.
I do like that.
Yeah, and the way Will changed the accent that he had as the kind of an ignorant guy who's delivering pizzas.
I got this triple sausage for you, Mr. Shreve. Is an extra large sausage.
That is the origin.
Well, we have our thoughts of the week from Dylan Pollock. This is another listener that's been around, user of drugs and alcohol. It's been around since the start of the podcast, who always sends in very nice messages. We gave him a segment as well.
Coming up next, it's another guest appearance from our favorite visiting superhero.
Dylan, you son of a bitch.
I'm sorry, Stan. You have to be present for all this ridiculousness. This is Dylan's message for Shriek.
Thoughts of the week from Dylan Pollock on Shriek, or I Know How This Sounds. Get it? Because all episodes about sounds.
Yes, Dylan, thank you.
Anyway, Shriek to me is the best Batman Beyond villain and should be the bad guy of a live-action Batman Beyond movie if you were to make one. I think conceptually it's so fucking cool and you could do so much with it. Also, pretty wild on a kid's show that they just have Bruce being told he needs to kill himself. Repeatedly, open the window and jumpers. How do they get my inner monologue for this whole thing? Say it again. One of the coolest scenes of the entire show is Shriek manipulating the sound in the assembly line and then it all backfiring on him. It's very cool. It's a perfect ending for Shriek. It's a perfect ending for Powers in this episode. And it's a perfect ending with Bruce. That is so cool. He doesn't think of himself as Bruce. It's so cool. Anyway, you know what's cool? The question of the week. James' favorite part. It's got to be sound related. So if you had to pick a favorite song, what would you pick? Could be a song that you're just digging recently. Could be an all-time favorite. Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.
Favorite song? That's so broad.
I have the weirdest answer for this.
Okay.
There's a song from the Blue Man Group.
Okay.
Called Endless Column.
Okay. What? Further explain.
It's fully instrumental. It's not as crazy percussive as a lot of their songs, but it just starts off mellow and moody, and then it grows to not even a cacophony. It just grows in energy. And I don't know why. I think the first time I heard this song, I cried.
Okay.
And it's just a weird instrumental thing from the Blue Man Group. And it's just forever stuck with me. Endless Column, Blue Man, final answer.
I was going to say that I never have a good answer for this, but then as you were saying, like the emotional response to it, I've been listening a lot to, weirdly, it's a T-Pain song. It's called On This Hill.
Okay.
But there is an orchestral rearrangement of it that a guy did on TikTok where he hired all these like dozens of instrumentalists to play their instruments, choir, singers, all this stuff. It is very moving. I'm trying to get it in the movie. Like I wanted to stand. Do you have a favorite song at the moment?
At the moment, yeah. I mean, it's just, from one thing to another. And
yeah.
Favorite song for a few days, and then another song comes along. It's an old one by a Belgian singer from the late 70s. The singer's name is Plastic Bertrand, and the song is called Ça plane pour moi.
Wow. Okay. We're putting all sorts of stuff out there for the listener today.
What about the song is catching you at the moment?
Just there's a version of it that was done many years later that I just happened to see it on Facebook, and I clicked on it and went, oh, this is great. A lot of dancing, a lot of big orchestra backing him up.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't mean anything either. It's slang. The term plan, P-L-A-N-E, is the same. It means the same in English as it does in French. It's a plane. What he's saying is, it goes well for me. That's the translation. It's going very well for me. It's a weird song. It's basically punk rock from 78.
I love that.
Caught our attention. Yeah. Well, I'll write that down.
I mean, look, he had one song. He had one, Plastic Bertrand. He had one song.
Okay.
And he didn't even sing now. It was the producer's voice on it, not his.
Whoa. Okay.
By the way, if you listen to it, you'll agree with me that most people do hate it when they hear it. I can't play it in the house, actually.
All right. So next time I got to drive to the store, I'm popping that on. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Or right after this call, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
The last little stupid segment that we do, and I'm sorry to put you through all the silliness, Stan, because you're a very intellectual, serious fella, and we like to have you here for these conversations. But our final segment, we don't know what this means, but we ask everyone's opinion between these two options. Was this episode books or hip hop? Did you feel this was a books or this was a hip hop episode?
Hip hop for me.
Book? B-O-O-K-S?
We don't know what it means, but just your vibe. I would also say it was hip hop.
I think the episode worked literarily.
Okay.
I mean, it worked as literature. It's about two relationships. More literature, more books, I would think.
Yeah.
I love that.
Solid answer.
Speaking of books.
Yes.
Mine.
Yes.
Beyond the Bat. Still available on Amazon.
We have been plugging the book as often as we can because it's sitting in the back of my office every time. Yeah. Well, we're putting this on the top 10, of course, for Batman Beyond because we only have 5 on here so far. Rebirth, Meltdown, Gollum, Blackout, and Heroes. Brian wrote Hose on his list because he's so funny. Where are we putting this, Brian? On your top 10 and my top 10 individually here for Batman Beyond?
This is going to be... I was thinking about this kind of background processing. This is a front runner, and I'm trying to figure out because Rebirth was 2 parts even.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to beat Rebirth, I think. But and Meltdown we both have as number 2, Mr. Freeze, because it was just such a good like wrap up to him and all that stuff, and very heavy and emotional.
I think this one. So to take a page out of your book, because I tend to with my top 10 lists with these shows. I tend to be a lot more about the story and the emotional impact. James tends to not only have that, but also be interested in like the artistic nature of it. And with like the sound design on this is just one of the more impressive DCAU episodes I've seen, full stop.
Okay. Yeah, agreed.
I think this is hard, actually. This is very hard. I think I'm going to put it at number 2.
Okay.
Just behind Rebirth. And let me say it was
Shrek. I'm putting Shrek.
Don't you dare. And it was battling, like just before saying that, I didn't know if I was going to put it at 1 or 2, but thinking about Rebirth and just with the whole, like, we start out with like the end of Batman and that's so iconic. This almost took number 1. but solid number 2. I'm very happy with that choice.
Well, now I'm trying to decide between 2 and 3 because I think Rebirth is going to be hard to beat for me. It was just a very solid, great intro to the show and the character.
Also, it's 2 parts. You get more.
Yeah, but we've had 3-parters on here before. But what I'm struggling with is the fact that I think this episode was much more tightly produced. Like everything was at the top of its game than Meltdown. But I also felt like Meltdown. I don't think Meltdown. I think it gets a little bit of an extra push by being Mr. Freeze. Like it's like you've had 5 other Mr. Freeze things to build to this or whatever. So it's tough for me to decide whether I'm putting this above or below it, just because they both feel equal to me.
You got to follow your heart, Jamie.
I know. I think I'm going to put it below it. I'm so sorry, Stan, but it was very good. I know you're right here. I should have. Oh no, I put it in number 1, of course. We do have a guest top 10 list if you would like to put Shriek anywhere on. You don't have to pick between. You don't have to like think of a top 10 or anything like that. But if you wanted to assign it number 1 for now, and then when we bring you back, you can bump it around with the other episodes, or you could pick a number out of 10 at this time for where you think you would put Shriek.
You understand why I can't do that, right?
Because you're extremely biased.
Is it like trying to pick your favorite child kind of a situation?
If it were only my episodes, I could do that, but you're asking me to compare it to episodes that friends of mine wrote.
Not necessarily. I mean, I guess.
Yeah, you are.
Well, okay. If we do it that way where you're picking out of 10 just Batman Beyond episodes total, but if you want to do it as the Stan episodes that will, April Moon and all that stuff you mentioned, do you think you would? That's also spoiling for Brian. Oh, this was the best one I did. Don't worry about it.
We can just put it at number 1 for now because it's the only one you've been on, and then we can make more difficult decisions as you go on.
I mean, so we're only talking about the stuff I worked on, right?
I suppose, yeah.
Okay, because as I said, I don't want to go up against my colleagues.
Yeah, no, I got you. No, we'll just
I'll let you do that.
Okay, yeah, that is what we do all the time. Yeah, we'll just bump it around when we bring you back. Hello.
My wife Tegan. Tegan, these are the guys who took me to dinner in Portland. Do you remember?
Thank you for feeding him.
Of course.
This is my wife Tegan Clive. You can look her up on.
Please don't.
Oh, we have. He does this every time. He tells us to look you up, and then we do, and we go, "Wow, how did Stan? We don't know."
She tells me the same thing.
You're a good fella. Look at you, Jamie.
I'm just gonna start.
How long have we been friends? We're going on like 9 years now, right?
This is 10, year 10.
This is year 10?
It will be 10. Well, we're in year 9. It will be 10.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
In October.
I was having the same argument with Mark on the Discord, one of our mods and artists for Legacies, where we had opened the new Discord and it had been 2 days later. He's like, it was an argument of whether that was day 2 or because the first day is day 1. It's not day 0.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're in day 1. And then you'd be like, it's been open for 3 days when it was day 3. And like, no, that's not the same thing or whatever. We were having this really stupid argument about this. Whether like, oh yeah, Brian and I have known each other for 10 years. No, just kidding. But it's year 10. That's a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
And you know what?
Nobody cares.
I care.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Jimmy, I care about you.
Okay. Did you call me Jimmy? Or
no.
Okay, I didn't think so.
It's
like you wouldn't have possibly cared if you called me any other name but Jamie.
Jamie.
You called me Jamie in front of Stan at least once in the podcast. And it wasn't like embarrassing or anything, but I thought it was interesting. He doesn't know me as that.
Well,
my professional name, James.
Stan is smart enough to he
might decipher that.
Yeah, it's a little bit cryptic, but I got faith in Stan.
It's a little spooky. We don't know who Jamie is. If you, though, the person listening, would like to reach out to either of us, and hopefully both of us at the same time, like the fire hand at the end of World's Finest Part 3. You can send a short-ass email or a 60-second voice message to batwagonpod@gmail.com. or leave a comment on today's episode on the Pod Tower YouTube channel or Spotify. But please don't spoil anything past this episode for Brian.
Do you think there's listeners whose names are Jamie? And like, I feel like Brian is probably pretty likely. We probably had a Brian. If there's any
legit Jamies out there, I'd love to know. I want to know if there was a girl I went to middle school with whose older sister was named Jamie.
Wow, exciting.
And that's the only Jamie I've ever known in my entire life. And I barely knew her. So,
well,
that's my story, and I'm sticking fucking to it, okay?
Okay.
I didn't play this song.
That's what I was just waiting for.
One small extra yop, put it over.
We
didn't play the song.
We drop our weekly yops.
Oh yeah, those.
Into the comment box. There sure was a lot.
Now Jamie's mad.
Too bad we're all.
At least I am.
Just Dylan Paul.
Jamie, that's me. I'm Jamie. And now I say the stuff I already said. This is from Seth Kano again. Hey, Bat-Wagoners, it's Seth Kano, obligatory Mortal Kombat reference. I just heard you read off my 5-star review during the episode Heroes. You wanted to hear my rating for that episode. Well, I give it 1.5 cans of Renew You out of 10. I was wondering if you think that episode is worse than the BTAS episode, The Terrible Trio. Loving the pod. Keep up the good work. That's up to you. You are the ultimate decider of what's bad, I guess. I think Terrible Trio was much worse than that episode.
I'm leaning that way too, because Terrible Trio is just like bottom of the bottom of the bottom.
Why would they put the word terrible in the title? I hope we made that joke at the time. It was so long ago. To say. This is from Chris Fitt. In lieu of my usual long emails of the past, this one is short and sweetly mediocre. On waiting 20 years to disappointedly watch Fan 3-Stick, I'm reminded of Spock in Star Trek, the original series, Amok Time, saying, "You may find in time that having is not so pleasing a thing after all as wanting. It is not logical, but it is often true." Chris Fitt. Yeah, that's we deep. Wanted Batman Beyond, and we got Heroes. Eric LeBeau. Shriek or Round Clock Pizza still exists in 2039. Think Dark Side. The Backward Sailor Moon theme is in a horror movie. It's called Life with Croc as Your Roommate. I'm not connected to Bluetooth because I'm stupid. Do you have anything to say while it's connecting to Bluetooth?
I wish you weren't so stupid and we're just already connected to Bluetooth.
No, I could possibly not do it. While it's connecting to Bluetooth, I'll read Backstabber Backstitcher's comment that says, "Shriek or Terry the Pizza Spy or Jordan's TED Talk about sound. I love Terry's stupid little hat in this. Where do you even get it? Evidence locker in the cave, thrift store, Halloween costume. I don't remember if he uses it again, but I think it's adorable."
Stupid little hat.
Well, hey, you guys got a pizza here. I found this pizza man suit in the back. I mean, I work at pizza. Okay, here's Eric's message.
Okay, so I think that second attack from Shriek was a little too loud and might have blown out my eardrums, but I still want to get this message out. Sure is a good thing no one attacked the Batmobile while Bruce was inside. That would have been awkward. So did the sound masking blanket half the city? The subtitles were a bit vague and I can't really tell. That bit at the end where Bruce calls himself Batman's cool until you think about it for too long, because I just imagine he's talking to himself being like, "Come on, Batman, you can do it." Hey, music. If only I could fucking hear it. Oh, hey, Croc. What? Croc, I can see you're saying rock, but I can't hear what you're saying. What? What are you? Oh, my headphones were on noise canceling the whole time. Rock! But my laptop... I hit the mute button by accident. Until next time, support the Patreon and keep calming up on.
Yeah, I always appreciate the Patreon references. Did you know that we're only 15 people away from making a video about whether Teen Titans and The Batman are in the same universe, which is a hotly requested video that we do when we get to 200 patrons.
Requested and contested? Is everybody all on the same... They're just like, nope, that's it, and that's the video.
Yeah, I'll just
say a one-word script.
Just walk up and say nope, and then Alora will cough in the background. This is from Neo Gotham Tourism Board. Save our creepy buildings. Shriek comment, Save our history. Please spread the news to save the Gotham we all love.
Ladies and gentlemen, of the great city of Gotham. This is your tourism department speaking, and we have lost a great building today. We've lost the creepy abandoned police department.
Mm-hmm.
I know what people are saying. I know several people are saying that it was an ACOM, that it was hideous, that no one wants it anyways. But if we don't stand up for this creepy abandoned building, what do we do when they come for the other creepy abandoned buildings? There are still plenty of Coco Don Yanks, and even a few sunrises left standing in that district. And if we don't stop to preserve each and every creepy abandoned building, pretty soon Gotham won't have creepy abandoned buildings left. Do you remember what happened to our creepy abandoned amusement parks? We only have like 4 of them left. I don't know who we are as a city without more creepy abandoned buildings.
Rip.
Please, join me and try to defend these creepy abandoned buildings to traumatize a new generation for the future. Thank you.
You know, it would have been too like close to home or too soon or whatever at the time, but it would have been really funny to have like that old Gotham area of town where all the decrepit buildings, just have them all say like blue pencil, ACOM and stuff like that on like a graveyard of never to be used again animation studios.
Wow, yeah, with
or
like
just like one letter off or something.
Like for rent, and it's got like a logo in the corner.
Yeah, it has those like marks for like whenever. I haven't thought about this in a long time, but in like Fern Gully, where they like mark the trees that are going to be chopped down. Yeah. They do that to the ACOM building. That's all.
Ouch.
The Astral Beast Cometh asks, would you rather bike 15 miles or get sucked into 2 fans? Bike,
Jamie?
Bike. Why would I don't want to be sucked into any fans. Are we... I mean, fan like a. Jesus. I didn't even think of a double entendre of any kind until you just started getting this shitty. Fans of the Watchtower database and all that. Yeah.
So, listener, if you want Jamie's number, it is.
I said I don't. What's your answer? You want to get sucked into
15
into
miles?
2 fans? Yeah. Okay.
Wait, how many fans?
As long as they're Dylan Pollock and Jordan Blumen. Kyle, we can be one of them, says Shriek. Shriek is another awesome Batman Beyond original villain. This episode provides us with maybe the most insight into Bruce's psyche ever. Even though Terry's suiting up as Batman, he shows us that Batman is still who Bruce thinks of himself. I don't think this was necessarily intentional, but this episode seems to have some statement as well about taking advantage of the elderly. I was wondering that. I wish I had thought to ask Stan that about like whether, because he's always tossing in very like timely political sort of things, very heady situations. I do wonder if he had some sort of either person he knew or whatever that was like, oh, they've been treated wrongly in the system and stuff. Because there was just like a hospital full of assholes that were just like, fuck this guy the whole time. I'm like, okay. The third act being entirely silent was so jarring when I watched this as a kid, and the rapid increase in volume only gets more excruciating as I get older. I'm curious if Brian had a hard time hearing this episode. Stay happy, dudes.
What?
I'm the one with hearing loss. I think Brian's okay. What?
Brian's hearing's not that good. It's weird. No. I like can't hear like anything that people are saying to me, it seems, because I'm like 100 or whatever.
Yeah, right.
But I'm always the one who's like, hey, wait, can you hear that? And it's some like weird, obscure sound out in the distance. I'm like, my hearing is shit, except for the times when there's something very faint and then I can hear it just fine. What is wrong with me?
Specific noise. I don't know.
Listener, please diagnose my weird ass hearing.
There's also a voice message. Do you hear that weird sound, Brian?
Yes. It sounds like white noise.
I hope this is the whole minute. It's just nothing. That would be good. Oh. It's the diegetic sounds of Kyle creating his podcast, The Film Realists.
Wow, this is incredible. It's really like behind the scenes.
I know. It's pretty... I wonder if he knows we're in the room with him.
I don't think so. Just be quiet. Just let him work.
Oh, sure. I'm thinking some typing the email we just read.
This is genius. I think this
Oh, crap. Was I recording that whole time? Stay Yoppie, Bat-Wagon, DCAU references by?
DCAU references. That's what I should just say from now on.
Ballsy. Yeah, that is a ballsy voice message.
Well, was something wrong with my television? What's going on?
I love that. Well done.
This is from Wency209. Can we have Fantastic Four? We have Fantastic Four at home. Fantastic Four at home.
Yeah.
Anyway, stay happy. Yeah, that's pretty much our takeaway. Legacy said Yopton's log number 146.
Yopton's log number 146. I would like to make an announcement. Tomatoes suck, and I will take no notes. Anywho, I digress. I started the leg of the journey today by slapping the shit out of some cameraman who was aiming up Supergirl's skirt. I saw that Batgirl was riding a topper on their way out of the area on some girl boss best friend shit. Historians will say they were roommates. Moving swiftly along, though, I had to bolt because some plant lady saying she was my wife tried to make me kiss a tomato. And I stumbled haphazardly into a time machine where I fell into sight of the new kids on the block trying to gaslight Maxie Goof. Yuck. That boy band and I made a swift retreat as John Kent came out with a shotgun. And Martha Kent came out with a shotgun. And Max Goof came out with a shotgun. And Crypto came out with a shotgun. And James and Brian both somehow came out sharing one shotgun.
Yeah, we're good at that.
Between two fans, of course. And they were roommates, they said.
Oh, I followed a good bit of that. I couldn't name the episodes, but I was like, okay, that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking tomato thing. Keen and Dylan in our like Instagram group chat that you're in, but you never look at it anymore because you've abandoned us. They were having I think Keen was saying that he likes tomatoes, just eating tomatoes like cherry tomatoes or whatever, but does not like pasta sauce or anything made with tomatoes. And that Dylan was the opposite. He loved all the stuff made with tomatoes, but not. And I was like, I like all of it. Tomatoes good. The end of story. All right.
And I just come in. I'm like, I hate everything to do with tomatoes ever.
But do you hear that in the distance? You said.
Also, I'm with you mostly. I used to be with Dylan. I wonder if I'm going to graduate to Keen. But my favorite way to do pasta is with fresh garden cherry tomatoes.
Yeah.
And you like chop them in half and you saute them with like a bunch of olive oil and some salt and pepper.
Yeah.
And then you toss your pasta with like just like a spoonful or two of pasta water into the pan with the tomatoes. And you saute all that up until like all that water is absorbed. Holy shit, it's the best pasta ever.
All right. I'll send $5. I don't know what the answer is, but I'll look it up if someone says it. I'll send $5 to whoever can tell me the previous podcast episode that Brian described that exact recipe, because I know it's already happened.
Shit. Yeah, that sounds about right. I just want everybody to know.
Yeah, well, it's okay.
Also onions.
Now
I didn't say onions and garlic probably. Or
if he said onions last time, then I won't give you any money. This is from Mark Aquino. Shriek last first, or that. So that's where that came from. Or Bruce Wayne v. gentrification, or dogs are the real heroes. TBH.
Oh
God, this episode is fantastic. All the sound design and Foley artists that usually work on these shows went all out on this one, and they deserve a round of applause. Let's give them a hand. You better do so, Brian. He did. He liked it. This episode's
one hand
clamping. This episode's got it all, folks. We get a great original villain with legitimately neat gimmick. Terry gets to do some detective work of his own, which was neat. Seeing him figure out how to use the back computer is like seeing a young Gen Z kid try to use an iMac from the year this episode aired. We also get Kevin Conroy showing off how great of an actor he is per usual, and Ace saves Terry from getting hit by a truck, proving, as previously stated, that dogs are the real heroes in this episode. The little detail that only a dog can hear anything from the level of sound frequency that Shriek utilizes in the third act is really clever. I know that sort of thing is scientifically proven, but I personally can't prove it's the exact frequency level done here. I'm sure there's something about that in the tribs. There wasn't. Anywho, that's just a long-winded way of me saying this episode is great. Boss Biggest Bear hugs to the #1 podcast host in this here multiverse of ours, Judiciary Committee and Berlin Farmers Market. Same goes for Stan Berkowitz, who I'm sure was a great guest on the pod. Come back anytime, good sir. He doesn't get a silly name, though. Ben Sturkowitz. Praise to our Lord and Savior Dylan Pollock.
You gotta be like,
supersize me. Keep up the great work on your own podcast. Remember to tell Gab that she rules. Likewise to all his loyal disciples, all the names, and this Yoppie community of ours. You're all the absolute best. Don't you ever forget that. God, this episode is great. Don't you? Jesus. Don't you agree, Bizarro Mark and Scarface? Me am confused. How old man Bruce not get in trouble for breaking out of room in psych ward? He's an old rich white guy. They'd probably just wag their fingers at him and say, now don't you ever do that again, mister. And you'd throw money at him and just shut the fuck up. That's the kind of systemic corruption we know Brian would hate. Speaking of Brian, we didn't appreciate that jump scare. That's we came back from the mail and you just went, like breathed in from. It's very loud, especially little baby Danny. What makes you think you can get away with stuff like that? I mean, he's the co-host. Me breathing in, I'd kill myself. I mean, he's the co-host of the podcast, and this is a normal person. This is Mark talking. He's the co-host of the podcast, and you're a fictional character that I've altered for the sake of comedy. I can't breathe. Yeah, you got me there. Till next week, a futuristic smoke bomb. That's the mail.
Hooray.
I'm done reading it to you.
Oh, bye.
Yeah, bye. I'll just leave. We'll go back to our zany hanging up shit that we do.
Oh, yeah? Should we do that?
No, I don't think so.
No, we're done with
I've
that.
enjoyed saying goodbye, my friend Brian, every time that...
It's cute. It's cute.
Yeah, it's cute. It is cute. And then we kiss.
Mwah.
Between two fans. Let's go back away. Wee! Let's get sucked into two fans. Here we go. Well, our next episode is called Dead Man's Hand.
Didn't I write that too?
I think so.
Okay. Dead Man. Is it a new villain?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just going to guess there's going to be some kind of like crypt keeper villain.
Because he's dead? Is that what
I don't know. Some kind of
man?
zombie thing. What am I supposed to guess?
Sure. Okay. I don't know. Sometimes he's like spot on, and other times it's completely.
No, cards. Hand like playing cards.
Baby, you got it. What does that mean? What does that translate to?
It's Gambit from the X-Men.
Well,
it's a crossover.
You're familiar with the James Bond films? George Lazenby is a guest voice of Dead Man's Hand.
Yes.
What?
What?
Third show, the third TV series that I worked with him on, and to this day I've never met him.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
I did get him. I did get Lazenby a job once on TV for something that I've written, and they hired him, which is very unusual.
Well, and I think
done.
We'll talk about this next time, I'm sure, but I'm pretty sure Dan got George Lazenby the job on this episode too, like just seeing him at the mall or something like that. We'll have to recall the tale, but yeah.
We'll check in with Dan.
Yeah.
I'm glad he was.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, that is the show, everyone listening. Please give us a follow or subscribe wherever you may be listening to this. And please leave us a 5-star review on your podcatcher of choice. You'll damn well hear it read on the show. Thank you to everyone who listed in the description for their musical themes and helping and make this podcast as yoppy as it can be. Go check out their stuff. And thank you, of course, to you, the listener, for listening. And to Stan Berkowitz for being here. He gets the applause button for being here on the show with us. Thanks, Stan. It's been a long time coming getting you on here. I'm glad you were very interested in the concept of the podcast as we were describing it to you at dinner. So
very much so.
Yeah.
It turned out very well. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. And we'll definitely get you back on for at least one, if not all of those that you mentioned.
I look forward to it.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. And enjoy the rest of whatever hopefully sunny weather it is for you there. I'm not sure. We're looking at it the whole time.
It's beautiful down here.
Good.
Really beautiful.
Yeah. Thanks again. Thanks for being here and giving the input. It's always a massive honor to us to have these people who we've come to love the work that they do. And just to have you here giving your input is amazing. And thanks for putting up with all of our weird shenanigans.
I enjoyed it. Happy to be here. And thank you again.
Thanks, Stan.
Adieu. Bye-bye.
We'll see you later, Stan.
Bye, everybody else. We can do goofy, zany ending now that Stan's gone. I'm just kidding.
Don't you dare.
What do you think Stan thought of books or hip hop, Clayface, all that stuff?
I mean, he rolled with the punches.
I love I don't know what you're talking about with the like 8 out of 10 stuff. Yeah,
I think
it makes total sense because we're fucking idiots. So.
Yes, I think one of my favorite parts was seeing Stan's reaction to both Jordan and Dylan's segments.
Yeah, they didn't know they were going to be played before Stan Berkowitz. So
I know, and he was very pleased, and he kept cracking smiles at some of the things that were said. And that was good.
Well, bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.
For real.
Bye.
I'm rolling this way.
Oh, Brian's rolling that way.
It has been moved and seconded that Wayne Powers tender an offer to the city in order to expand into the historical district. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
The motion is defeated. Meeting adjourned.
Too bad Shreve's too freaked out to testify against that weasel.
Maybe when his hearing comes back. If it ever does.
Tell me something. Why were you so sure those voices weren't coming from you?
Well, first, I know I'm not psychotic.
I hope your other reason's more convincing.
And second, the voice kept calling me Bruce. In my mind, that's not what I call myself.
What do you call yourself? Oh yeah, I suppose you would. But that's my name now.
Tell that to my subconscious.
Jump on the Bat-Wagon is hosted and edited by yours truly, James Strecker, and co-hosted by yours Briley, Brian Maneely. This podcast is brought to you by the Watchtower Database, your one-stop shop for all things DC Animated Universe. To send us a Yoppie beverage, nab some sick show merch, or support us on Patreon, you can visit the links in today's show notes. And thank you very much. Please leave us a 5-star review on your app of choice and follow us wherever you listen to never miss a new show. And we'll see you next episode, same PP time, same poo-poo channel.